A lotus is a flower rooted in the mud that rises through and above to become a beautiful bloom. This is a podcast sharing mine and other stories of how we've done the same, choosing to rise above our circumstances to bloom. I'm your host, Amber. Let's get started. So this is Brad Jensen, aka the Sober Bodybuilder. I know him through you and Ben are both in We Are the They Group 1. Mm-hmm. And that's how I met you. You started coaching him. And then your girlfriend, actually, I've done breath work with her a few times. We were in Gentle Warrior together.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So that's kind of how we know each other. The way that I usually like to do these is I just have you tell your story to like whatever extent that is. And then just kind of go from there. Just kind of discuss the growth process through it all.
Cool.
So yeah.
Thanks for having me on. I'm excited. Where do you want me to start? Just all the way back?
Well, okay. So did you grow up here in Utah?
Yeah.
Okay. Always lived in Utah.
Yep. Yeah. Born and raised in Murray, Utah.
The main thing I wanted to touch on, and this is something Ben and I have had a few conversations about it, and how because I didn't know you were the sober bodybuilder. The way that I first heard about you was you were Ben's nutrition coach. Yeah. And just Brad. And
which is better almost.
Yeah. And then it wasn't until actually, I think when we went to Cancun and I met you, and Ben was like, oh yeah, that's Brad, da 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 da. And I like put all the pieces together. But the main thing that I wanted to talk about was your addiction and sobriety. The reason being, I grew up as a child of parents with addiction.
Oh, I did not know that. And
so my parents and all of my step parents have been into addiction. Most recently, my mom, she's been clean about a little over 3 years now. I think in September it was 3 years from meth and heroin.
Oh, wow.
Her original drug was meth. My stepdad, his was heroin, and they just kind of got into each other's drugs. And it's been a roller coaster. I mean, since I was 4, I think.
Wow.
Has just been an ongoing thing in my life. So I was mostly raised by my grandma, my mom's mom. So I refer to her a lot. Half of my tattoos are related to her. She's my mother figure. And because my mom and I were raised by the same woman, and because my mom, of course, like addiction kind of stunts your maturity a little bit in certain aspects.
Oh, yeah.
And so in a lot of aspects, my mom and I are more friends and siblings than the parental role. But it's been a pretty huge healing journey, and I was just really interested to hear how you've kind of turned things around. My stepdad. So my real dad, he and I are not super close. We've tried to have a relationship. It just hasn't worked out.
She's not sober?
No. And he's been in and out of prison majority of my life.
Yeah.
And he's just, again, like if we did have a relationship, it was very friend-based, buddies.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I've just realized like I have a new appreciation for him, but there's been like, he was very, very abusive to my mom, as well as my stepmoms. And I witnessed a lot of that. And so, yeah, but my stepdad, he's like, even though he's still in his addiction, I love him so much. And I still like admire him so much as a person. And he's very much into fitness. And that's been like a pretty big staple of when he is clean. That's like one of the things, him working out, that helps him stay.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I had a lot of like things that I could kind of relate to.
Did you ever get into it?
No. I experimented with a few things, but it was, I think because I witnessed my parents in their addiction, there were a few things when I was partying where I was like, oh shit, I like this. I am never touching this again.
Yeah.
So
Look at me starting to interview. Sorry, I'm just used to.
No, you're good. No, I love it.
It's like fascinated.
No, I love this. I like this to be more of a conversation.
Yeah. Yeah, me too. I was, I have a podcast too, and I have a ton of episodes, and I still, most days, I'm like, listen, if you need me to interview you, it's not going to go well because I didn't go to school for this shit.
Exactly, yeah.
Like I'm not like a journalist, like I'm conversation. So
Yeah. It just
that's
flows
always the
way better.
best. It's hard when you get a guest when you're just like, okay, so this is going to be a back and forth. I don't want to just like, I'm not a press reporter
Yeah.
asking questions.
Exactly, yeah.
But it's interesting. There was a meme that I found on Instagram not too long ago that was it's like two guys and they're brothers, and one is homeless with a bottle in his hand, and the other is like in a suit and some high level CEO. And they said, why did you become like the way like who you are today? And they both said, because my parents were alcoholics. One went the complete opposite way and one fell into the trap. And that's usually what I see. It's like I ask that question, and it's usually not like, oh, a little here and there. It's like either yes, I was super into it, or I'm still into it, or like no, like even if partied a little, you were just like, yeah, no, like I like that too much.
It's interesting that you say that because I have noticed that with my siblings. I have 4 younger sisters, and then I have a stepbrother and a stepsister. My stepbrother and one of my sisters have both been really heavy into addiction and off and on clean and in and out of prison and pretty messed up lives. And it's just interesting to see, like, you can see the literal contrast of like, we had the same people as an example and how different we turned out.
And you go one way or the other.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's, I did not know any of that. So yeah, I mean, it wasn't like what I set out to do, to be a heroin addict. Like that wasn't like in the cards, and interesting enough, like I come from the youngest of 5. That's not interesting, but like my parents were, they were active in the LDS church at the time. Now only my father's hanging on, but, I didn't grow up around booze. I didn't grow up around drugs. Like that wasn't like a thing.
Yeah.
And so, and my parents raised me pretty good. Like I didn't have any obvious like, neglect or trauma. There's a lot of people that, I would get high with or even in sobriety with that had some horrific things happen to them that like shifted the whole trajectory of
Like
their
they
life.
were
And they
using that as a coping.
I mean, my worst thing is I was kind of I was chubby little 12-year-old and was picked on. And that is like what led to me drinking for the first time was, I mean, I was peer pressure. I was 13 years old and my buddies snuck some Jack Daniels. And I remember like we were in a circle, like 13-year-olds, just peer pressure, right? And it came to me and I was like, I'm like, we don't do this in my house. I'll get in trouble. Like, oh my gosh, does your mom know she stole the bottle? Like all these things are going on. I'm like, and of course it comes to me and I just take a swig because I'm like, okay. And I remember I drank it and I was like, why would adults do this? This was awful. It was the worst thing. I had no idea it was going to taste that bad.
Yeah.
And then about 20 minutes, yes. Jack.
Not even easing into it.
That son of a bitch. About 20 minutes later, I was like, I see why adults do this. Mm-hmm. And real quick, what happened was instead of my friends laughing at me making fun of me, they were like laughing with me. Like I imitated things like Chris Farley, Van Down by the River skit, Matt Foley, and they were like, so I could like kind of be fat and funny and like people would laugh. And I was like, oh, this is way better. And so that was kind of like what started that. But I got into health and fitness at about 14. I was probably almost 15. And I found a magazine with some jacked black dude on it. I was like, I want to look like him. Nothing made sense, especially like the skin color. But I was like, that's what I'm gonna look like. Yeah. And I remember we were at a bookstore. I mean, this is 1999, and because I'm like, do people still go to bookstores? I think they do, but
I think so. I mean, they exist.
They exist, yeah. Like I saw Barnes and Noble the other day. I was like, I'm so impressed. Like they've made
a coffee shop with books.
Yes,
nowadays.
exactly. Yes, yeah. It's like a study place with a coffee shop. And so I remember I ripped out the page of like the bodybuilder diet, and my mom got all mad at me when we got in the car. She's like, you can't do that. We have to go pay for it. And I just started applying what it was saying. And like, I was crazy dedicated and I didn't know anything, but I mean, even like the internet wasn't what it was today. It was, And so I remember I just asked her to always go buy the new edition of the Muscle and Fitness, and I'd find whatever like meal plan they had in there. And it was, some of them I was like probably starving myself. I'm sure they were for bikini girls, but my body changed. And then when I turned 16, my mom allowed me to get a gym membership. She said no before because she didn't want to drive me back and forth.
Yeah.
So that was the first thing I did. And so I lost a bunch of weight and got skinny. I also hit a growth spurt, but I was like almost too skinny because I was probably really undernourishing myself.
Yeah.
And then I found weights and I just fell in love. And like, I remember I started talking to these older guys at the gym and they were like, "Bud, if you want to build muscle, you can't be drinking." Like, and a couple of them are like, "You shouldn't be drinking anyways. You're 16. Like, stop it."
So you had your first drink at 13 and the drinking continued.
Yeah, like intermittently, like here and there. Like it wasn't like a ton, but as I got more into health and fitness, it kind of slowed down, but I would still do it sometimes. By that point, we were, like freshmen or something. Like we could kind of get it here and there, but it was like, if we could find someone's older brother to hook us up. But but the minute these guys told me that, I just quit drinking. I was so obsessed with it. I was like, if I could have half that level of dedication. I mean, I'd walk through the hallways of my high school eating tuna fish and brown rice, and salsa. Like it stunk, and I just didn't care. I would just plop over a can of tuna on cold rice and just eat it with salsa. And I got pretty jacked. Like I would spend hours at the gym, even if I was just chatting with the guys. And so I just quit partying altogether. I quit drinking. I was like, nope, I'm not doing that. And so my junior year of high school rolls around and we're going to a party. And by this point, I'd gone from being kind of the dud to the stud, which really looking back, there was probably some really negative self-beliefs that came with that. Like, I mean, it was high school. Like my high school girlfriend didn't know I existed my sophomore year. I sat right behind her. And then I come back my junior year and I'm like, I hit this big growth spurt of muscle and they're like, yeah, she thinks you're hot. Are you new here? And I'm like, dude, I sat behind this girl. Like, what?
What do you mean? Yeah.
But and so it probably instilled some negative self-belief that carried on for a long time that like, if I was jacked, then that meant like I was okay.
That's where your worth was.
But I still had this like, kind of like, I'm like, I really enjoyed drinking. It was fun. And like, we went to this party and this kid said, before we go in, he said, "Hey man, I know you don't drink, but I got these painkillers." And this is how naive I was at the time. I'm like, "Oh, I'm not in any pain." And he was like, "No, dummy, they'll make you feel like you're drunk, but you'll have no hangover tomorrow." And all he had to say was one sentence, which was factually incorrect. He said, "All the bodybuilders are doing it." And I'm like, "Oh, really?" And I was like, "All right, I'll try them." So I took them, and the rest is history. I remember everything about that house, which is funny because I don't remember a ton of my junior year. It was a split level entry house. I remember the brown cabinets. I remember it like it was yesterday. I remember like all the jungle juice cups, the red cups everywhere, the solo cups. Because I remember when they hit me, I was standing in the kitchen, and I was like, I'm in love. Like I had never felt that good. I was like, this is the feeling I want the rest of my life. I remember telling my buddy that, and he was like, yeah, they're awesome, right? And from day one, it was not normal, and I should have picked up on that. It was not normal. Like I went to his house the next day, and I was like, we got to get more of those. Yeah. And he said, oh, I stole them from my mom. She'll notice. I can't. So we went to the bathroom, so I went and stole them. Like I took them myself. Yeah. And it caused a big fight because his mom was like, "Did you take my pills?" I mean, I took like 8 of them, and I just left immediately the next day. And I look back about that, and I didn't remember that story till actually that same friend heard me on a podcast years ago, and he was like, "Do you remember you stole them the next day?" And I was like, "No, I forgot about that." And so that just continued. And by the time I was graduating high school, I'd found this little scheme to go down to Tijuana, Mexico. And I would take off my door panels and I'd go to the pharmacies and I'd load up with a bunch of all these narcotics, pain pills, muscle relaxers, and steroids. And I'd put my door panels back on and drive through the border with a little sombrero on, and it worked. And it was like idiot savant. Like I didn't really realize the amount of federal felonies I was committing by like drug trafficking through country lines.
You were just thinking, this is something I like. I'm going to do what I need to do to
then I started selling some of them because I had a lot. And so that's where my entrepreneurship began. I joke. Like I had a ledger book and it was all fun. Like it was like, and I got good enough grade. I didn't get great grades, but I didn't fail out of school. That my parents knew I was partying probably, but I was like, okay. And I was a really good actor. Like I really pulled the wool. I was making sure to not, like I loved getting high and doing all this, that like I made sure they like had no clue. I was the best son. I would compliment them, And, you know, they would let me, they had like gave me a lot of liberty. I think they were just tired after 5 kids. And so I would stay out, you know, didn't really have a curfew. They'd let me sleep at my friend's house. We'd go to Mexico. It's like
Yeah.
crazy. And so at 19 years old, I decided, hey, I got to clean up my life. You know, I really realized how risky this was. Somebody had gotten caught down there. It was all over the news. Like,
Yeah.
and doing the same thing I was doing. And I was like, I'm too pretty to go to a Mexican prison. So like,
Yeah.
I'm not
I don't think I
about
could
that.
handle that. Yeah.
So I said, I just got to quit. I'd gotten a job at Valley Total Fitness as a personal trainer. I was the youngest, since it's long closed, but
Yeah. I was like, oh, Bally.
it was still stuck in the 80s, even in 2003. It was like fluorescent yellow and pink and neon.
I can see the
Yes.
sign in my mind right now.
Yeah, the one at Fort Union. So they hired me, and they were like, "I think you might be the youngest personal trainer we've ever hired." I was 18 years old. I just graduated high school, and so I was like, "All right, you know what? I got my dream job. Like I just got to clean up my life." My high school girlfriend had broke up with me. She was like, "Dude, I'm not going to date a drug addict." I'm like, "I'm not a drug addict." She's like, "You literally use pills every day."
Yeah.
And I was like, but I hadn't like seen the negative repercussions because I used them every day, not a lot, but I used them daily. So what happened over that 6 months was I developed a habit, like an addiction.
Yeah.
And I had heard about withdrawals, but I hadn't really experienced them. And even the kids I was selling to was not, they weren't banging on my window at 2 a.m. It was kids that were partying on weekends from different high schools.
Extra fun or something.
Yeah. And so, but I'd heard about them and I knew they were real. I just didn't really know like what I would feel. And so I was like, all right, I might feel a little sick. And the day came that I ran out, and that next day I was so sick. I compare the withdrawals from opiates to like the worst flu you've ever had times 10 plus like a borderline panic attack at all times. Like, and it was the borderline panic attack is almost the worst. Like I feel like you're so anxious, and on top of that, like,
Yeah.
when I got pneumonia like 5 years ago, and that vividly reminded me of withdrawals. Like it was like, oh,
Yeah. It was
yeah.
my mom's always described it as like you feel like you could crawl out of your skin.
Yes. Oh,
Just like, yeah.
I don't have a worst enemy, but if I did, I would never wish that upon him. Like,
Oof.
and it's easy to cast judgment. And people like, I wish they would just stop with any drug. And I mean, but particularly with heroin or opiates or fentanyl, like you get to a point where you're just using not to fill those. Like,
yeah.
And so
Just to function.
I made a call to a friend, and he said, I don't have any, but he's like, my brother's got some for you, can come over. So I went over, and I was presented with a shot of heroin. And I remember that was a line in the sand I'd drawn. There was all these imaginary lines that I'd drawn in the sand that like, I'm not crossing that one. Like I snorted Oxycontin, and I took some Lortabs and took some muscle relaxers, but I'm like, I'm not going to, like, you start doing like crack cocaine or heroin, like that's a junkie. Like, and I was a pretty jacked, like seemingly had my shit together, but I didn't. Kid, and I said no at first, and it took me like maybe 2 minutes, and I was like, hey dude, all right, come back in, I'll do it, man, will make me feel better. He's like, yeah, of course, instantly. So I shoot up heroin for the first time as an 18-year-old kid, and I remember that guy patted me on the shoulder, and he said, hey man, I'm sorry kid, your life is never going to be the same, and I'm sorry. And I'm like, I remember, like, it's the way he said it, I can still remember it. And I was like, oh no, yeah, I'm not going to keep doing this. Keep in mind, I had no plan how I was going to stop. But I was like, oh no,
this is just a one-time thing
just
until
today.
I get more pills.
I don't know how I'm going to not withdraw, but like, I'm not going to keep using it.
Yeah.
I had a distinct thought. I'm like, you have two choices right now, man. You're going to use again tomorrow. Like, because you can't go through this, or you can call your parents and ask for help. And I chose the first.
Yeah.
And so I went for about 6 months, and real quick, my life got really bad. Like, I mean...
Soup. And that was 6 months of shooting up.
Yeah, shooting up heroin, and then I started shooting up cocaine during that time too. And you know, I was living in an apartment, but I'd missed rent for 2 months. I was getting evicted. I was getting kicked out. I'd gotten fired from Bally's. I was working at 1-800-CONTACTS in a call center that I was about to get fired from too, because I couldn't show up unless I had my stuff.
Yeah.
I remember I called my mother and I told her, I said, hey, I need some help. And she said, what's going on? I said, I'm addicted to heroin. And
she had no idea, your parents had no idea at this point.
No, like they could tell I was going downhill a little bit. Like looking back, they said, we knew you were because they'd be like, are you okay? But I still lifted weights. I still like ate right. It was the biggest dichotomy because I mean, for years I did that. There's a picture of me in like 2007, so like 4 years after this, at Christmas with my niece. And I'm standing behind her, and this is before I had sleeve tattoos, and my arms are up in like a Y shape. And I'm standing behind her, like smiling, and she's like 4 years old, standing in front of me. And we're like, and I am jacked, and you can just see these purple track marks all up and down my arm. Like, it was like so weird.
Yeah, to have both.
I would still keep lifting. And so I didn't look awful. But I finally just got clean, and she had no idea. I mean, they knew something was up, but they had no idea it was that bad.
Yeah.
So she dropped the phone. I was like, hello, and she picked it back up. She's like, what? So they got me into rehab, and I went to my first rehab, and that was in 2005. And I went there, and I very clearly, and I tell people this, I went in there and I said, listen, I have a problem with cocaine and heroin. I admit that, but I'm not going to say I'm an alcoholic. I haven't even drank much.
Yeah.
And they tried to tell me like, okay, you might not be, but you're either just going to replace it with one thing and then drink too much, or the drinking is going to lead you back to the other stuff. And I was like, not me. Nope. So I'll stop the other stuff. And so I got out of treatment, and I drank like the first day, and nothing bad happened. And so I drank like 3 days later, and nothing bad happened. It was fun. It was a party.
Yeah.
I drank a third time, and I blacked out. And I had never blacked out. I woke up the next morning, had no recollection of what happened. Even on heroin, I knew what I did the day before. I was like, that was scary. I was like, what's happening? Maybe they're right. Anyways, I drank a fourth time like a week later, despite having that blackout. I didn't black out, but I was at a bar at a club and got some cocaine, did the cocaine. The cocaine led me right back to the heroin. And it was this vicious cycle from that point, from 2005 until my sobriety date of November 20th of 2012, was incomprehensible demoralization. Like, it was just, it's so hard to even conceptualize. Like, that 7-year run of my life was just, I got arrested 17 times. I did about 16 months in county jail, like 2 months here, 3 months here, 60 days here. I was just praying to go to prison, which is the worst thing I could have prayed for, because once you get stuck in the prison system, then you're in and out of prison.
Yeah.
But prison was better than jail, because you could live a little more.
Yeah.
Because people are doing life in there, and the county jail is awful. Like, I have no TVs.
It's all temporary. And
yes.
Yeah.
And so I went to 6 or 7 different treatments, countless detox. And the pattern I would go through would be 4 months of a complete bender, and I would then destroy everything, and then I would get sober. And I would get sober for 30, sometimes because I had to go to jail, sometimes they would send me to rehab, my parents would send me to detox, and I would get 30 or 60 or 90 days sober. I would get my life back. I would quickly turn things around. My body would turn around. I would get a good job, or a fairly good job, and then I would just use again.
Yeah.
And it was so, like, it was just a tornado running through everyone's lives.
Do you think that was, like, looking back now, was there ever a moment where you were like, oh, I had a bad day, I know it would make me feel better? Or was it just like you thought you could have the drink and be fine, and it, like, was there any pattern that you noticed as far as like, this is going to happen, so I'm going to solve it with this thing that will fix it? Or was it just like, next thing you know, I'm using again, and then I got to get clean again?
No, great question. You know, when it really varied. I would sometimes use because things were going so well, so I wanted to celebrate. And I would tell myself these lies, like, I'm just going to do it for Friday night. And then 4 months later, I'm pulling my head out of water going, what the hell happened? And then a lot of times it was because something bad happened. And like, I kind of had to come to grips with certain things, and couldn't handle them. I remember one time that I got fired from my job, and I thought I was doing everything right. And I left, and I was so demoralized from getting fired, and was sober, like, not because I was high. Yeah. I was just not performing well enough. And I was like, that sucks. And I started just driving the dealers. I'm like, don't go there, don't go there, don't go there. And next thing you know, I got a needle in my arm. And so I'm really grateful. I had a few different overdoses in there. Usually, always my overdoses came after a period of sobriety. And I remember distinctly one overdose I'd been sober about 90 days and I overdosed after relapsing because that's generally when people with really heavy habits actually don't die as frequently. It's when you take a break and you go back.
Because this is what I've heard, that you think that you can do the level that you used
Yes.
to.
Yeah. And then with heroin, it was just Russian roulette because each balloon would be so different.
Yeah.
But I would know instinctively, like, don't shoot up a whole one, just do a half. And if it's not good enough, then you can do the other half, bud.
Yeah.
But that always kind of sucks because you didn't get this big hit. It was like, oh,
Yeah.
like you end up getting high, but it's like this rush initially.
Yeah.
And so, I went back and my tolerance was so much lower. And so I remember I wake up and I got charcoal all over my chest and I'm in Intermountain Hospital or one of them on Bangor Highway and I'm hooked up to everything and my family's there and they're crying. And, the night comes and everyone leaves. And it was like this just demon in my head was like, unhook this shit and get out of here. Like, we got to go get high.
Oh, shit.
And I pulled everything out, left in the middle of the night and went and got high. And it was just like that pattern. It was just complete insanity.
Yeah.
I lived in my car and then my car got impounded. And so like they ruined my house and my car. Like it was just like craziness. And somehow like I would justify like it was okay. Like it was still normal.
Yeah.
So
I was going to say there's so many things that you're saying that I can relate to from the other side of it. The other perspective of just watching my parents go through their addiction. 'Cause I remember, excuse me, it's interesting to like be living in it. And then now that my mom is sober, talking to her about, oh, remember that party that we had and you went out with your friends and we had a party. So my stepdad had just gotten home from prison. And he had been in for a pretty good stint this time. And so we were just stoked that he actually got home a little bit early and we were super amped about it. And so it was like reunion of the friends. And I think I had just turned 21. So I went out to the bar with my friends and I was like, hey, peace out. I'll come back and have drinks with you guys when come home from the bar. And I get home and I could tell that there had been like a fight and everybody was just had this look in their eye of like, oh shit, okay, well, we're going to go to bed now. And what I found out later was that they had started drinking. There had been a fight. After the fight and the guy got kicked out, they decided to go ahead and get high to celebrate that my dad had just gotten home. Mind you, my stepdad and my mom had been clean for I don't know how many years at this point, maybe I want to say like around 7 years at this point. And my stepdad had OD'd and my mom had resuscitated him in the bathroom.
Gosh, yeah.
And I got home and oh shit, that was a doozy look that was on their face was because my dad had died in the bathroom and my mom had resuscitated him. And so just like little things like that. And it's interesting because my mom was very much like hers was she was coping from trauma from as a child fitting in with her friends. And then it became abusive relationships that she was coping from. Whereas with my stepdad, he had a hard time because he was like, for me, it was just partying. We were just having fun. And it was like anytime we were having a good time, in the back of my mind was, I know how to make this even more fun.
Yep.
So it was hard for him to find a like, oh, I'm coping from this traumatizing thing. So if I heal the traumatizing thing, I won't need the drug. For him, it was just, I like having a good time. And like, how do you heal from liking to have a good time?
Yeah.
You know?
I can so relate. It was like we could be having fun. I'm like, this could be even more fun.
Yeah.
Like it was just that constant game. And so by the end of my, like, it was just crazy. And so come 2000, I got sentenced to a year in jail in 2011.
Okay.
Like a little bit in the spring of 2011. And I did 8 months with good time. Which I was a model inmate. I didn't get in trouble. I worked. I did whatever I could do to get out.
I have to tell you a funny story. So it's really interesting to me how well I know how like prison and jail time works and like the rules of all of that, because my stepdad, my real dad, and my brother have all been in and out of jail and prison, and my uncle and federal prison. And so it's funny because I actually had a friend that I worked with who was about to leave on his mission. And he's like, will you write to me? And I said, yeah, I'll write you letters. can I send you pictures? How many? And he's like, yeah, you can send me pictures. How many pictures are allowed in the envelope? And he's like, what are you talking about? I'm like, can I send like bookmarks, or is that, and I'm asking him all these questions that apply to like how you send letters to inmates. And so it's yeah, it's just kind of interesting. And so like whenever I would have people who'd be like, oh yeah, so-and-so got sentenced to so much time in prison or in jail, I'm like, they're not going to serve that. That's not how it works.
Yeah.
Like, just because you were sentenced to that doesn't mean you're in there that long. Like,
Yeah,
I don't know.
no,
Yeah.
I'm glad, when I tell people, I'm like, I did 8 months, and they're like, how? I'm like, well, it's kind of how it works. If you're good enough inmate,
you got to play the game.
you'll get, you'll get a percentage knocked off your,
Yeah.
I know when people are like, yeah, I got 15. I'm like, oh, you're probably
You're
only
not gonna
9.
get 15,
Yeah, let's go 7 maybe.
Yeah.
So I did that time in jail, and that was the longest I had clean. And I had mistaken clean time with actual like recovery. Like I was like, oh, I'm good. And I told my parents, and I was like, I'm in this. And they had gone to all these family programs as part of one of the treatment centers I went to in 2009. They started going to this program called Al-Anon, and they were like, hey, cool. We're super happy for you. But just to let you know, like, if you decide to go back out, because my mother was damn near going to love me to death. She was the greatest enabler. She loved me so much, but she enabled me so much. I could con her into giving me $20 just about any day.
Yeah.
And she said, you know, if you go back out, me and your father are done. Like, we're done. Like, you're cut off. We can't do this. And I was like, okay, cool. It's not going to be an issue because I'm not going to go back out. So I get out of jail. And my birthday was January 31st, and I got out January 28th. And they were so excited because I was actually going to be at my birthday. I was going to be sober at my birthday. And I was pumped. We had this big thing planned. It was kind of like celebrate me getting out of jail, but also like for my birthday. And January 30th, like the itch came back. And it was...
So literally 2 days.
Yeah. And it came and it hit, and it's the craving, and my body's shaking and sweating, and my stomach starts to turn in knots. And I'm like, don't do it, don't do it, don't do it. And so I call the dealer. These people change their numbers all the time.
Yeah.
So I'm like, there's no way he's going to have the same number. If he doesn't, that's my sign.
Yeah.
This son of a bitch picks up. And I'm like, okay. And he says, hey, this is where I'm at. Come downtown. So I start driving down there. And as I'm doing it, I practice everything they taught me in treatment. I played the tape through. And the tape went like this. You're going to go pick up. And if you don't overdose and die, you're not going to stop till something stops you. You're not going to show up to your birthday. Your parents are going to be done. This is going to get really, really bad for you. I had terminated off all of my probation because if you're not ready to stop using and you get caught up in the system, it's just the worst.
Yeah.
Because that's how I kept going to jail so much, was I kept violating probation all the time.
Yeah.
And I would catch new little charges, but nothing super serious. But I was a convicted felon. But and I was like, don't do it. And so they always say the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over, expecting different result. In that moment, it was like the definition of insanity for me was like doing the same thing, even damn well knowing that the result is going to be horrible and doing it anyways. I was like, this feels insane.
Yeah.
So I'm crying on the way down. And it was at that moment I realized, like, I'm fighting something way bigger than just like white knuckling this like I had been doing.
Yeah.
And so I get high, needless to say, I didn't show up to my birthday. And also my parents followed through with what they were going to do. And it was a big resentment point for me, but the greatest blessing. And I don't think that everyone listening, if you're struggling, people ask me a lot, you know, my parents, it's important to let people know they're loved. But if you feel like for years on end, you're trying way harder for your loved one to get sober than you are, like, and it's ruined. My parents almost got a divorce. They've been married 50 years.
Yeah.
She got a divorce because of me. Like, because my dad would get so mad at my mom for enabling me. And they just had said, we're banding together. We can't do this. And they stuck to it. And it was the greatest thing that ever happened to me because it allowed me to find a bottom. I would, you know, during that time, I found out the rock bottom had a basement, I like to say, like, and I'm so grateful for that because that foundation of rock bottom is what I built a really awesome life upon. And my mom would always just slip the pillow under me because she loved me. And I would hit the bottom, but it would just be a little cushion. Man, I hit that bottom and it just kept going and going. And I didn't have mommy to save me anymore. And, you know, so I'm homeless for the whole entire year. And I didn't sleep on the streets because I was very resourceful, but I slept in very compromising places and places just, I mean, I lived in like Motel 6s, just like not the,
Yep.
yeah.
I remember as a kid, we would live in motels sometimes.
Man.
We would live in our car. We were in a fifth wheel on the back of our truck that had no running water or anything like that. It was literally just like we slept in it, parked in people's
Oh my
driveways
gosh.
or in parking lots. One time, what's interesting is, and I talked about this on my first episode, we had a friend who he knew that he was going to go to jail and needed his kids to be taken care of, and told my mom and her boyfriend at the time, hey, I paid the rent, paid the bills. I just need you to watch my kids. I'll be out in such and such amount of time. And I don't know if he didn't pay enough or if it ended up being longer than he thought it was, but the water and the power went out in this house. And it was to the point where we were peeing in the toilet inside. We couldn't flush it. And then we would poop in the backyard. We would dig a hole, poop, and bury it like dogs. And we didn't do that for very long, because then we decided to go on a camping trip. Let's just take this into the mountains. But it was, I mean, we got stuck up there. There was no money, and my mom and her boyfriend were smoking meth. So like, what do you expect? And there were 6 kids and 2 dogs. And yeah, it was, it was really interesting.
Oh my gosh. I'm so crazy to hear that side of it, because I remember like I would go to these places like that where I'm like in a fifth wheel to pick up some dope, because that last year I made a very, very unwise business decision to start using meth. I dabbled in it a little, but I was like, okay, I have to hustle every day to get my fix. I had $150 a day habit total, like with everything and I had no job. So you can put the pieces together. It was not exactly the best activity I was doing. But even that, just the hustle and the bustle and the like being a middleman or doing criminal activity. Like when I was so high on heroin, I couldn't stay awake, and cocaine was so not price efficient. And so I was like, I'll just start using a little meth, because a 20 bag of meth went really far at first. Yeah. And so, but that I'm really grateful for meth, because meth is what brought me to my knees. Because the people I got involved with, I would use heroin. I would go back to a hotel room or our house or the room to rent. We were like, or my buddy's house, and we would just like veg out in banana chairs on like sugar and like be high on heroin. Like it was not very like, the meth introduced me to some wild people.
Yeah, some really crazy people.
So we'd go there and I'd see I can't tell how many times I'd go to these hotel rooms or broken down fifth wheels, and I'd see little kids in there. And I remember just thinking, oh, it like hurts my heart to think about like Dominic being in that. So I'm so like, I remember I'm so out of my mind sideways. I'm so deep in my addiction. And I remember just looking at these kids like, oh, my heart just hurt for them. I was like, shit, I'm sorry.
Thanks. No, I mean, to be fair, and this has been I've been through a whole process of like being angry with my mom, of like, how could you put me in those situations, to like justifying what she did, to realizing, okay, well, she set an example for me, like her bad example set an example still of like, okay, well, I know I'm not going to do that. I'm going to strive extra hard to be the best parent I can. And then coming full circle to appreciating what the situation really was. And to be honest, to be honest, like, even though those are really shitty situations for a kid to be in, I still remember my mom always made sure I was taken care of. I always had a bath. I was always fed. I had a place to sleep. And I never saw my parents actually get high, with one exception where her boyfriend took it upon himself to have a moment of honesty and felt like it was important for me as a 9-year-old to see what they were doing. And he smoked meth in front of me and said, this is why we live the life that we live.
Oh my gosh.
Which pissed my mom off.
Rightfully so.
No end. Yeah. So she did a pretty good job at shielding me to the extent that she could. But it was still just like very, very unstable.
Yeah.
Growing up and all of that, living with other people for months, all of our stuff. Like, I don't have very many baby pictures because someone stole my baby album. Like, just the shitty stuff that people would do, you know?
It's just awful.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was not the most pleasant people. So I'm actually really grateful for that, because finally at the end of that year, I was like, I can't do this anymore. Like, I can't, like, I still don't know, looking back, what was real, what was not. I was living in some paranoia at times, but I was also hanging out with some really, really bad people. Yeah. And like, they were like, one guy I was hanging out with was on the run for murder. And I'm like, he might murder me. Like, he had snapped on me one time. And like, I started losing my mind, and I'm like, I felt this impending doom coming. Like, and even if you don't die from the dope, Brad, like you're gonna die from these people. Like these are like, you can go find the worst people in Salt Lake and you're with them. Like
Yeah.
it was not safe. And again, I was also starting to hallucinate. And so I remember feeling like, I don't even know what's real or fake. Like I would have these out of body experiences where I'd be like, dude, I don't even know what's real.
Yeah.
So I start praying for the first time in forever. And I pray and I was like, hey, listen, I don't know if you're up there, God, but like, I can't do this. You gotta help me. So that was, and 2 days later, my mother calls me and tells me my grandfather had passed away. And she said, I want you to be at the funeral. And I said, I want to be there. I was like, you just got to do one thing right. She said, Brad, just do me a favor. She said, just do what you got to do to be okay. And I knew what that meant. It meant don't be withdrawing that I'm shitting and pissing all over myself and shaking and shivering. And don't be so high that I'm drooling on myself or so high on meth that I'm tweaking out.
Yeah.
And so I was like, all right, I'm not going to use the meth because I don't want to be tweaking there. So I like stopped for a couple of days, but I was still using the heroin because I had to. And the day came and of course I ran out. So she picks me up from this grungy hotel. And there was a part of me that was like, just go up there. Like you might be a little sick, but hopefully they don't hit you super hard till you're coming home. Like just show up, do something right this year. Show up for your grandpa. And of course, by the time she picks me up, I am full blown sweating. I'm withdrawing. I'm shaking. I'm shivering. I got pins and needles. And so I'm like, I'm good. And she's like, you don't seem good. And so I end up throwing up in her car. And she was like, you can't go up like this. So I made my mother go to the drug dealer's house and we backtrack. We're going up to Brigham City. We backtrack to West Valley for you guys listening on Utah. Like it's not exactly convenient. We went all the way to the west side to have to go all the way north.
Yeah.
So by this point we're running super late.
Yeah.
And she says, I was like, you need to stop at a gas station or something. She's like, just get in the back seat. She was so mad. She was like, do what you got to do. I'm so mad at you. So I get in the back seat. My mother knew I used heroin, but she never watched me use heroin.
So pause. This was her dad that had passed away?
No, my dad's dad.
Okay, so her father-in-law. Okay.
Yeah, her father-in-law.
Okay, sorry.
Her dad had passed away when she was 16 of a heart attack at the dinner table, which is a whole different story.
Geez.
But yeah. And so she proceeds to watch, and it's just a gory scene and to save some. I mean, there's just tourniquets, there's blood, there's spoons, there's needles, there's cooking.
And you're trying to do this while she's driving.
Yeah,
so you're trying to find a vein.
I'm in the back seat and I'm trying to find a vein, and they're all shot at this point because they hated me. And I just look up, and she's in the rearview mirror, and she's just staring at me. And I don't know how we didn't crash because she's not looking at the road. She's just staring at me, and I just see these tears, these big tears, just coming down her face. And she wasn't like yupping. She wasn't. It was just heartbreak. Like if you could look, if there was a picture of heartbreak in the dictionary, it was my mother's face. She just watched me massacring my arm, just to be okay. That's it. Like not even get high at that point, just to like make it go away, so I could show up and like be like somewhat okay.
Yeah.
And she's watching. She's just crying, and I'll never forget. It was the moment that changed, and so I shoot up. And normally, instantly, it's the most instant gratification. Just like that, you feel better. And I looked up, and while I felt not sick, I said, I'm sorry, Mom. And she didn't say anything. She's not even wiping her tears. And we just drove in silence the rest of the way. And I remember I had this thought come to me that was, you got two choices right now, dude. You can either kill yourself or you can get and stay sober. Like there's no going on another day like this. Yeah. And I tried so many times to get sober. So I was like, I think the first part, it sounds like a better option. And so I was like, maybe that's what I have to do. And then I remember this voice in me. It was like, that's the most, because I remember I thought, you selfish piece of shit. Like you just made your mother like go to the deal, like just so you could, like, what is your problem?
Yeah.
But I remember this thought that was like, that's the most selfish thing you could do is kill yourself. So that night I was like, I hopped in a stolen car that I didn't know was stolen. The guy asked me to drive. We were going to get drugs. And I was like, but I'm like, I don't know what I'm going to do. Like, I can't do this, but like, I've got to get enough so I'm okay tonight and for the morning. And then I got to figure this out.
So you're already like trying to figure out some plan somehow.
Yeah.
Of how you're going to do it.
And I get on the freeway and I'm just merging on the freeway. And all of a sudden I see a cop behind me. I was like, and it didn't take long before all of a sudden the lights go on. Mm-hmm. And I was like, what the hell? And I was like, what did we do wrong? And the kid goes, oh, this car's stolen. I was like, and I remember I was so mad. And then almost instantaneously, it was this moment of surrender where I was just like, oh, this is it.
The universe is doing it for you.
And I'd gone to jail so many times, but like I had never, cop came up and he was like, they weren't very nice because it was a stolen car. They're like, put your hands
Yeah.
outside the vehicle. And I'm like, hey, dude, I want to go to jail. Just take me. I remember yelling this. And he was like,
He's like, what?
and he was like, you got any weapons in the vehicle? And we're like, no. And he was like, I'm like, listen, dude, I know why you pulled me over. This car's stolen. I don't have a license. I am going to get dope. I need to go to jail. And he was like, well, I knew the first part, but not that way. So he takes me to jail, and I was just done. I remember I went in there and I detoxed, the worst detox of my life, and I said things like, I'm going to kill myself, which is the wrong thing to say, because then they put you in the padded room upstairs,
No
which is even
shoelaces.
worse. Yes. Yeah, you get it. Like, even worse. I was like, my little mattress pad went to a thin, paper thin.
Yeah.
And I remember I just laid on the concrete floor, and I remember the cold concrete on my face. I remember just laying there. And I kept throwing up a little, and I'd throw up in the drain. They would go down. And I remember just thinking, this is the last time you have to do this if you want to. This is the last time. You don't have to do this again. You don't have to do this again. This is the last time. This is the last time. And 30 days later, they called my name to roll up, which I thought, I was like, okay, I'm already a convicted felon. Now I got this charge. They're probably going to send me to prison because that's what the judge said last time.
Yeah.
And the charges were dropped. He stole the car from one of his family members. They decided not to press charges. It was this.
Whoa.
And so I got out, and I remember I went left instead of right, so to speak. I called my mom, and she said, you can't come here, but I'll drop you off at like a recovery meeting, it was a CA meeting, a Cocaine Anonymous meeting.
Mm-hmm.
She said, you can't stay here, though. And because she was mad I was out. She was like, shit, why'd they let you out? I'm like, I'm sorry, they did. I don't.
I didn't ask him to.
Yeah, so and so I ended up staying on some guy's couch there, and at the meeting, he said, you need a ride? And I said, I do. I don't have a home, though. And he was like, oh, shit. And then he let me stay there. And I did everything. I dove in. I went to, how I got sober. It was like 12-step meetings. That's not the only way to get sober. It's just I had no other. I just went to a ton of meetings. They asked me, like, no matter what they said to do, I started doing. And I changed everything. Like I got a whole new phone. I didn't even have access to those numbers. I had nothing to my name, Amber, nothing. I had like a garbage bag, black garbage bag, like you put leaves in. That was all my belongings, everything. I had a horrible credit score, no money. And I was so determined. I was like, I'm going to do this. And so I remember someone telling me, if you even put half as much effort into staying sober as you did to getting loaded, you're going to stay sober. And so I was like, well, I'm going to put all the effort.
Yeah.
And, the months went by, and I had some pretty gnarly cravings in there, but I didn't succumb. I didn't cave. Like, I called so many people, and that's what I've liked about WAG, because that's the brotherhood I got from AA meetings. Was I linked up with a really good group of guys that were kind of younger, and they had more time and sobriety than I did. And they were like, we got your back, dude. Here's my number. If you're struggling, call me.
Yeah.
And so I did. I just, those nights I would call and I'd pick up the phone, and these guys were there for me. And they showed me the first time of these guys had nothing to gain by just being there for me. And they were.
Yeah.
And I didn't even know friends like that really existed.
Yeah.
I didn't even feel worthy of having friends like that. And so, the months turned into years, and I'm just so grateful for everything I went through and everything that led me, because my life today looks nothing like that. 11, even at a year sober, if you would ask me to write down what I wanted, I would have sold myself way short, because my life I was back in the fitness. I started nutrition coaching again, had a good job. And, I had this little $500 car that was a 2-door that was really a 1-door. So when I was hanging out with girls, I was because the passenger side was welded shut. I was like, you got to hop through that bitch right there. And they'd hop through
Let me
it.
open our door.
Yeah. I was they're like, what about my door? I'm like, this is me opening your door. And I had no shame. I remember I was just so grateful that I had worked to buy a 500. I think the car was worth $1,500, but I bought it for my brother-in-law, and he gave it to me for $500.
Yeah.
Barely ran, had no radio. And I was so grateful for that car. And I remember I was about 5 months sober, and I was helping somebody with their nutrition, and we're on a phone call, and, she all of a sudden starts crying at the end. And she just said, I'm so grateful. Thank you. I was in such a bad spot with my body and my body image, and you've helped me so much. And I remember I hung up the call, and I'm just got these tears coming down, and I was high on life. I was I got in the car. I was playing some Demi Lovato song on my phone because I had no radio on full blast, and I'm singing. And I was like, oh my God, I think this is the first time in 29 years that I've ever felt true gratitude.
Yeah.
Like I was so grateful that I was high on life.
Yeah.
And that's why I've always talked about like gratitude is the antidote to life. It was in that moment I'm like, wow, the fact that I've probably never been truly like at my core, I was so grateful in that moment that I was able to help people, get paid for it. I wasn't destroying my life. My parents were starting to talk to me more.
Yeah.
Like, and I had so little compared to what I have now. And I'm like, most days I have to remind myself to be grateful for how good my life is today.
Yeah.
I had very little, very little. I was renting a room. There was a mattress on the floor and I was so pumped about life.
Isn't it wild to think? It's so funny that you say that because, you know, you get in your day to day and you're just like, this is my house, this is my furniture, this is my car, this is how I live. And it just becomes routine, but it's wild to look back sometimes. Like I remember when they raided our house and the feds like jumped, they had our house surrounded, they jumped over the fence, they came in, they arrested my stepdad. He was high as a kite. I had just, I had a boyfriend at the time and I was staying at his house most nights. And I came home after work because I needed to grab some more clothes. And I was going out to dinner with some friends. My whole game plan was come home, shower, grab some clothes, leave. I come home, I get talking to my parents, someone bangs on the door, I answer it, and they just come flooding in. And then next thing I know, I'm answering questions to these feds and blah, blah, blah. Like it was wild. And I get into a fight with my mom. And I remember telling her, because I was raised by my grandma while my mom was supposed to be getting her life together, right? Which ended up, I lived with her for I don't know. I moved away right before I turned 10 and I didn't move back to Utah until I was 19. And this is when I was 22. So I'd only been living with my parents for 3 years and our life I was the only one paying rent with a legitimate job.
Yeah.
They were paying rent and the bills because they were selling.
Yeah.
And I remember she's crying, we're going to lose everything, blah, blah, blah. And I said, I'm moving out. She's like, we have to find another place. And I was like, no, I'm moving out. She was like, well, what do you mean? Where do you want to move? And where are we going to move? And I said, no, we're not living together. I waited 10 years for you to be ready for us to live together. And here I am. And what are you doing?
Yeah.
I'm not doing this anymore. And so I said, I'm moving out on my own. I'm getting my own place. This is it. And so when I moved out on my own,
Good for you.
Thank you. I had nothing. I used some of the furniture that my parents had. And what I had was, a bed. I had a dresser, a coffee table, and I had this, entertainment center that they had gotten from Walmart. And that's it. I had nothing else. And I remember I moved in Valentine's Day weekend. My birthday is a week later. And so my housewarming / birthday party, I just told everybody like BYO alphabet. Bring your own chair, bring your own booze, bring your own everything. Dishes, like, because I had nothing. I bought a bunch of paper plates and silverware and like plasticware and stuff. And I would take the solo cups that we had at work and I would like stack them up and take them home so that I could use them.
Yeah.
And it was just, but I was just like so stoked to
Yeah.
have my own place, my own space. And I made the rules. And this was like, I
You
was
weren't
starting
living
my
in
life.
chaos and
Yeah.
feds pounding on your door.
Right.
And
I got to make the rules and I wasn't worried about, am I still going to have a place to live because my parents, are they making enough money by dealing for us to pay the rent? Are we going to get it was wild. And I bought my own, I had people give me stuff and I was stoked about it. Like I had this giant heavy ass microwave, but I was stoked that I had a microwave. I had mismatched dishes that people gave me, but I was stoked that I had dishes. I bought my own like living room set, but I say all of that because it's wild to think like I started out with literally nothing on my own and just having gratitude to be like, having that reminder every now and then to look back and be like, holy shit. I have a whole house and a whole family. Right? And like, look at this beautiful life that I have now.
Yeah.
And just that perspective.
I appreciate you sharing that. It's crazy to look back and I'm like, damn, how can I recreate that happiness with everything I still have today? Because my life is really good. Like I have so many cool things, but the more you advance, like the more stresses you get. And sometimes it just clouds that. And so that's why I'm really big on like, tapping into gratitude and doing a gratitude practice. And, my relationship with God is hands down why I'm sober. And like my definition of God is much different than when I was raised in church, and that's no disrespect to that. It's just like didn't really work for me. I learned like I can pray to my God, like, hey, dude, I am struggling my ass off. Like, dude,
Yeah. Like a conversation with
effing
your
help
best friend.
me. Yeah. Like, and he's like, I got your back. But lately I've been like, all right, I can tell when my stress gets high, I lose my gratitude. And it's almost this 1-2 effect. It doesn't like, for today, I'm less worried. I'm still very cognizant of it, like of, relapsing, but it's not like I have a healthy fear of it, but it's nothing I live in fear over. Like, in fact, the vast majority of days, I don't even think about it. Like when we were in Mexico, someone was like, oh, is this bothering you? I'm like, what? They're like, the booze? I was like, oh, I didn't really pay attention. Like, no. Like,
It's just
because they
not
were
a
like,
part
oh,
of
is
your
this
life
bothering
anymore.
you? Like, they were trying to be nice. And I was like, oh, dude, I haven't even noticed you're drinking. Like, you can drink. I don't care. Like, I mean, if you were like
That's so
shooting
cool.
heroin, I'd probably be a little uncomfortable. But, but even then, I would just walk away. Like, but for me, it's just slipping back into that, like, just not being grateful for what I have. And that leads me, just some stinking thinking. I call it K-fuck radio, part of my language in my head, where I'm just like, just get pretty sideways in my head still not most days, some days.
Yeah.
And, but my habits, rituals, and routines is also like, people have asked me like, well, how did you get sober? Yes, I went to 12-step meetings and I still go to one a week. I host one at my office. Actually, it's just technically called the men's recovery meeting because it's not a technical like AA meeting, but kind of the same format. But, but if you don't have some kind of habits, rituals, and routines, like, and part of that built in has been, I did a written gratitude practice for probably 9.5 years straight. Now it's a lot more on the meditation side I've been trying to do. And, but like, that's how I continue to stay sober. Like the shit I did to get sober, like, it's just like, if you get in shape, it's like, you have to keep doing some of that stuff, and not to the degree you have to like to get in shape, but you've got to keep doing the base habits to keep the weight off, to keep in shape. And so I still do that shit today. Like I pray every morning, every night. I try to meditate. I do these things. I journal. I try to read. I listen to podcasts. Like, because I've gone through periods where I don't really like the person I've become.
Yeah. You've found a groove that works for you and what contributes to that.
Yeah. I mean, like I was in Mexico alone, candidly, fighting for my now girlfriend back, because I was like a shithead. Like that's not who I wanted to be. We end up breaking up because she's like, you're impossible. Like you have to be right all the time. Like I was just not I was not impressed with my behaviors either.
Yeah.
And and so that's it. Like 10 years sober. And I think I tell that like, it doesn't, sometimes people are like, well, you just seem to have it all figured out with sobriety. So can you help my nephew? And I'm like, oh, I don't. That's a lie.
You've just found what works for you.
I've just put together one day at a time for a long time, but I am not like perfect. I just catch myself before it usually gets bad. And that just isn't, but I cope with other things apparently. Like it's just not drugs and alcohol anymore, but it looks so much different today,
Yeah. What do you think, this is a question that I like to ask all my guests, of going back and forth between, I'm sure every time you got sober, you were like, okay, this is it. Okay, this is it. Okay, this is it. And then relapsing and seeing your family on their side of it. Is there anything that you could say to somebody who's going through that, or something that would have helped you, or a mindset that helped you? What would that be? Like, what would you share with somebody? Sorry, that was kind of an all over question.
No, I got it. Like what would, it's really hard when I don't know if it was really 49 times, but that's what I share when I speak from a stage or something. I tried 49 times to get sober. So why would, and it was probably not far off. I mean, there were so many times where I was like, even just like little couple days, and then the detox would get too bad, or, why would the 50th work? And it's like, all I needed was in that moment, in the backseat of my mom's car, something hit me when I'm like, you're not going to kill yourself. That's the most selfish thing you could do.
Yeah.
I had 51% belief that I could stay sober compared to 49. Like that was it. Like it was that 1% belief. I was like, just maybe, like this is the right, just maybe, like just maybe, just try it. And then that 1% grew to like 2%. Like, and so the scale was so tight to like the belief that I could and the belief that I couldn't. And I built off that 1%. And I was like, okay, there's something in me that believes I can, because I'm going to try this again. I'm going to do it again.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to going to jail, even though I know what's about to happen because I knew I couldn't stop on my own. I would drive to the VOA detox, the public detox. I don't know if you've ever been there. It's foul.
Yeah, I have.
I
I've
would
dropped my
pull
mom
up.
off there
I would pull
a
up.
handful of times.
I'd get out and I'd be like, nope, not today.
Yeah.
It just smells of piss and poop and it's gross. And like, you know what you're about to go through and you have to lay on these floor and like, and I'd be like, just go check yourself. And nope. And I would leave. And I just couldn't do it. I couldn't face the withdrawals. So I think what I would say to people is it doesn't have to be like this like for me, it wasn't this burning bush moment of like, I am going to get sober and build a great life. I was like, I don't know, man, like maybe you can do this. You might not be able to, but just maybe that 1% belief. And you know, also not really tied to your question, but like, I just think finding whatever your higher power is and just asking for help there. I prayed every day and was like, just help me get through today. Just help me believe I can do this just a little bit more, just a little bit more, just a little bit more.
Yeah.
And I'm so grateful I did that because I wasn't anticipating to get out in 30 days. I thought I was going to prison.
Yeah.
Or at least going to do another long jail stay. And so when they called me to go out, like at least I was in a better mind frame, but it started with a 1% belief.
Yeah.
And then I tried to mirror my actions to somebody who can do this each day. And it wasn't perfect, but I was like, okay, you can kind of do right things. Like, let's just build off of this. So I don't know if that answered your question or not.
Yeah. Yeah. I think one thing that I'm curious about, because my stepdad is still pretty deep in his addiction, and I can tell he's at this stage where he feels very ashamed of it and very like down on himself about like, why can't I do this? Like, he's a good guy. He's a hard worker when he does work. He is, if you want to have a friend who's an addict, like if you're in the addict world and you want somebody to have your back, he's probably the one guy that would, you know what I mean? Like one of the few upstanding addicts. But it's like, I don't know. I feel like some people don't understand where they'll take the perspective of like, oh, why wouldn't you want to for your family? Why wouldn't you want to be there for them? And I can tell it's not that he doesn't want to be there for his family, but it's like, I know there just has to be like that one thing to click for him.
Yeah.
That's gonna pull him through. And for you, was it just like that 1% of knowing like, there's this 1% chance that I'll do it and I'm just going to hold on to that? Or
yeah. And you know, I remember some guy telling me too, when in one of my various attempts to get sober, he said, listen, dude, change is hard. And I said, yeah. And he was like, I can tell you're in the thick of it. He said, but the price of not changing is usually significantly harder. It's just in the long run, not the short run. So the choice is yours. And I always remember that. Like, change is hard. It really is. Like, especially if it's a big change you got to make. But the price of not changing is usually always significantly harder. It's just more delayed.
yeah.
Like, so you can't see it as the acute change. Like, you can see in the acute, you can see this much more. So I remember thinking like, this is going to be the hardest thing I've ever done. But going on like this
Forever
is going to be even harder.
Yeah.
Like, even though in the short term, I knew changing was going to be harder.
Yeah.
Even though it was hard to live a life like that of smoking and shooting dope and waking up every morning. Like, how do I get 20 more bucks? Like, it becomes so routine. It's just what I did. Like, it was like almost normal. It was like, well, yeah, of course we're out of money. Now we got to hustle. Like, it wasn't
my
fun,
life.
but it was just what we did. Like,
Yeah.
so I knew it was going to be harder. And I think so many people delay that because in the moment, the change is going to be harder. But if they could actually zoom out and see that not changing is usually going to be a lot harder. It's just going to take a lot longer. Like, it'll be a slower grind. And so if you can get through that acute phase of like change is hard initially, but the price of not changing on those kind of things is usually significantly harder.
Yeah. Do you feel like, because with like your fitness, have you found like a lot of parallels between the two? Because you're talking about that and it makes me think of like, okay, changing your meal plan, changing your fitness habits and that kind of thing of like, it's going to be hard in the beginning to make that change, but the long run.
Yes. Same thing.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One thing too that I've noticed is like that sense of community. I feel like having that community has helped, kind of helps you like, I don't know, stick with what you're doing.
Yeah.
Is that something, or is it more just for you just been being determined to do your thing?
Oh no, community's been huge. I think community is and I think that's what Jimmy's done really well with WA.
Oh yeah.
Even more so than the material. Like if people ask me, no offense, Jimmy, like, how did you like WA at the end of the 2.5 years? I'm like, I met some, the first thing that will come to my mind is I met some lifelong friendships, including your husband, like people I just love.
Yeah.
And that I know if my ass was falling off, I could call. Yeah. No matter if I haven't talked to him in a year. Yep. I know I could call Ben and he would pick up.
Yep.
Like that's a good feeling.
Yeah. I
think community is probably one of the most, I know everyone knows it's important, but if you have massive changes to make, and that's what I think AA does really well too. Now, listen, there's a lot of people in AA I didn't like. I just didn't hang out with them.
Yeah.
People are like, oh, I can't stand the old grumpy guys. I'm like, me either. So that's why I didn't hang out with them.
Yeah.
Like I found like-minded people that I jived with that had what I wanted and were living the lives. And I was like, how did you do this? And I think community is so important to hang around, you hang around some of your time with people doing more than you. So you can be like, how are you doing this? And then a certain percentage of your time, also being there for people doing less than you so you can be that support just like these people are for you.
Yeah.
And that's what I've gotten from AA, from We Are the They. Like, I came in thinking I was pretty cool, and then I was like the low man on the totem pole in some of these areas, especially like there was guys that created way more success financially than me. And I was like, oh, I might be in better shape, but I am a peon when it comes to So then I was like, instead of being intimidated, I was like, dude, can I pick your brain? Like, how'd you do this? Like, that's super cool.
Yeah.
I picked your husband's brain a lot. Like, and then also trying to be there for people like, hey, can I pick your brain about fitness? I'm like, absolutely. Like, I just think community and finding a community where you can spend time in different quadrants is so important.
Yeah. Have the mentors and also be one.
Yes.
Yeah. That's so rad. I love that. Well, I think that's it.
Awesome.
Thank you so much for doing this. I really appreciate it. And it was really cool to have, I don't know, there's not a lot of people that I've been able to talk to who have been on the addiction side of it to relate to. And it's interesting to see the parallels that we have.
Yeah,
it was
so
it was
crazy.
Really cool.
Yes,
cool to have
I admire what you've been through and you didn't go down that road because I think about some of those little kids I'd see in those horrendous places. And I'm like, I wonder, 11.5 years later, some of these 10-year-olds, what's
wild?
Up with them?
So the kids that we lived in that house with, so that house is on 9th East and 9th South.
Oh, yeah.
It's really close to where we live. I drive past it quite often. And so it's like a reminder of like, well, that's where shit was. It's not where it's going to go, know? I've actually looked up the kids that we were helping to take care of there and to see where some of them have ended up. It's not surprising, but it is
bummer.
Sad. Yeah. Yeah. So it's
good for you.
Thanks, dude.
Thank you for having me on. And I promise you there's hope out there. If you've been struggling or anything, I hate this saying but like if a low bottom gutter junkie like me can do it, like you can too. Like my life is really good today. Like I am still amazed most days. So if you're struggling, I promise you there's a way out. Like you just have to be determined and you have to put 100% focus into that. So, but there is hope.
There's resources. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you, dude. I appreciate you.
All right.
Hey, thanks for listening to this episode. If you liked what you heard, please remember to subscribe and go leave a review on Apple Podcast. It helps me know what you want to hear and who I should have as a guest next. Thanks again, and until next time, keep living the life of a lotus.